Hello, welcome back to Average Gamer Plays Factorio. Now, I've been pootling about in my base, pottering about. I put down some more solar panels. I've built the utility science factory. That went in remarkably easily. I may have sort of placed it, I placed it kind of randomly in the middle of the octagon, but I may have used a few more belts than necessary, sort of just getting stuff off the trains. But because most of the items just get filtered down to one or two lanes, then it's not a major problem. As I've got, it takes lots of ingredients, but it doesn't take all that many of them. So we'll see how well that works when I turn it all on. I've done a little bit of tidying up on some of the other builds, just taking out some of the belts and moving the undergrounds further apart. So I've recovered maybe 1,000 belts or something doing that. Not much I can do to tidy up the green circuits because they don't use an awful lot of undergrounds. The red circuits I could do a little bit on. I'll get a few belts back off that, but maybe not so many. I did some on the chemical science as well, so I've had some belts back. I'm having a little think about whether I can do a bit of a redesign on the smelting arrays a little bit, not so much with the actual smelting part of it, but with the trains coming in and out, because I think I'm going to need a lot more of these smelting arrays, and I think well, part of me was thinking they need to be closer together so I can just squeeze more in, and then part of me is thinking that's going to cause a lot more traffic jams on the trains. So I'll put a few more in down the edge. I might sort of have the train sort of coming down here and along and back up again. I don't know, there's 50 million there, 54 million. There's certainly plenty of ores around for me to mine, but it's just a case of actually where to put them, because there's, at the moment, I'd worked out that there were like 13 stations around here requesting copper plate, and I've only got 6 or 7 smelters, and I've even fewer. I've only got 3 smelting iron for the main base. I've got more smelting iron down here for the steel, but there's only 3 smelters for iron for the base, so I definitely need more for iron. I probably need more for copper. And I mean, this works, but I kind of like the way that I've got the stackers going more diagonally, and it takes up a little bit less space and it just looks a little neater, I think. So I'll have a think about that. The rockets are still launching. We're on to 1730 rockets now, a third of the way through mining prod 42, so that's going very, very well. Let's go back into my sandpit world. That's me just tweaking the red circuit factory, which I think I've done now. And we'll start thinking about the next big build, which may be the final big build, which is rockets. Now, I do have, from one of my previous bases, crude oil to rocket fuel. Now I've done a cut down version of this for the rocket fuel in my starter base here, and this is just sort of a fairly, I mean, it's not difficult in terms of what it does, but it did take a little bit of working out to get the ratios correct. So let's put down some power. And that's going to be water, that's going to be crude oil. And was there anything else that it needs? Might not be, you know. So all it does, I say all it does, we use advanced oil processing. We crack the heavy into light. We're turning the petrol into solid fuel, which isn't the most efficient way of making solid fuel, but all this factory is doing is making rocket fuel, so everything. It turns the heavy into light, it combines the light oil with what's already coming out of the advanced processing and turns all that into solid fuel. It turns the petroleum into solid fuel, and then all the solid fuel comes along these belts and it gets balanced and goes up into a whole bunch of solid fuel to rocket fuel factories. And that produces, let me put that down onto there. That was producing enough rocket fuel for my 1000 science, 1000 science per minute base. Now some of these are sort of going red because it's only just burning off the spare petrol, so there's a little bit of variation in that, but it is all getting used up. If we have a look at you know, these are all working full time. Everything it produces gets used up, which I do like. It might be a little bit. That might work a little bit better. So the only ingredients it takes in is water and crude oil. Now that produces 896 per minute. For my space science, 5,000 a minute, and I'm 3,571. It does. I was never sure whether this was actually accurate because it says 12 beacons, and you can put more than 12 beacons around a rocket silo. But I plugged the figures into a different calculator and it comes back with the same sort of thing, 5.1, 5.2 rocket silos. So we're going to build 6 rocket silos. It also comes up with this same sort of 159 point something machines doing the rocket fuel. So it says 160. In this build at the moment I have 40. So I need 4 of these builds, and I don't know whether to design a new factory for this base or whether to reuse this one that I've already done before, because all the other factories that I've designed have all been from scratch. And I don't know whether it's a little bit cheaty for me to just reuse this one, because it did take me quite a while to get the balance right for it to use up all the items that it produces. I mean, these solid fuel lines are fairly full. I might be able to see everything coming off there is getting used up. I might be able to downgrade everything to red belts and see if it still works. Because if that produces 894 or something per minute, then that's certainly less than a red belt. And a lot of these input lines seem to be... Let's do a downgrade on that and see if it still works. Let's keep that running for a few minutes. So I might be able to get away with just downgrading the whole lot to red belts and blue inserters, which is cool because it'll use less power. That's getting plenty of ingredients. So I think those being red belts there are already at the maximum reach, so I don't think I need to Now I can save the occasional little bit here and there, but it's and it's just occurred to me earlier that I could possibly have saved a little bit more even on, you know, when I was saving the blue belts, because I was doing like a blue underground onto a belt onto another underground, but I think the inserters can pick up off an underground, so I might have been able to just get away with doing something like that and then having the inserter sort of pick up off the items like that. That might have still worked. And whereas at the moment what I've been doing was that, and just putting that onto the actual belt, and I can probably just done it on the underground instead, but I'm not going to go back and change it now. Now the question is, I could probably make this a little bit simpler. Let's yeah, and that looks like it's evening out again. So I might have this as a a build in its own right. Everything there is got 13 sources on it. So these are still done. Move out of the way a little bit. So these are actually done using an 8 beacon or a row of beacons rather than surrounding it completely, and I think that might have been the easiest way of getting all the pipes in and out, to be honest. So I might end up, you know, be using an extra oil refinery or two on that. Now that takes in 53,280. So I might have, because there's going to be 4 of these setups, I might basically just have 2 oil. I don't know how much this is going to go through, you know, a set of oil tanks. Time will tell, I suppose, but I can always, if I do a little buffer like I did before, and always make sure that there is some oil in the system waiting to be used up. and I've got I'll leave myself with enough room to add more oil delivery trains, and depending on where I build this, I may end up having to bring the water in on the train as well. Let's just put let's get these a little bit closer together, but if they go in the middle of an octagon, and in fact that might be too much to go in an octagon, so let's have a little look. Rails. Although if I do one that way up, one the other way up, and then I can have the oil coming in at the left and the right, or rather the top and the bottom, or whatever, and let's just do that. Let's then turn it round like that, so we've got oil coming in on the left and the right, and then I can have a train coming in from the top. I mean, I can put that in the middle because it's only going to be an extra couple of pipes and maybe some pumps to get the oil in through the system, and I'll have you know, I can turn these lines around and have the four you know, all the rocket fuel coming out of the top and then just going onto a train from there. That could work. And obviously these refineries and whatever, I mean, I could leave them exactly where they are, but I could move them around a little bit. It's only a case of where the pipes join in, but I can have one feeding in and have the pipes coming in sort of centrally and then sort of running down the middle, and then two going up, and well, one going up there and one going down there, and then from the other side I'll have another train coming in here, and then from the right, and then one going up there and one coming down there. If I do a rails yeah, that'll just, I mean, obviously these are going to be fluid trains instead of normal trains, but there's plenty of room there for the stations. I might have 4 in on the right, and let's have a look. That does overlap a little bit, but I'm thinking if I do 4, I'm going to have one set of tanks behind the first train and another set of tanks behind the fourth train, basically, and delete the 2 middle sets of tracks. Or yeah, I think I might have to just have maybe the train sort of coming in at the top there like that, and I've got plenty of room for the storage tanks, and then just one train at the bottom to, or instead of having the trains If I still want to have the trains coming in at the left and the right and sort of matching what I've done before, I'll just change this to be vertical instead of horizontal again. So yeah, one station will do to a set of tanks. You know, 1, 2, 3, something like that, and then the other one will be to a set of tanks over there, something like that, and then we'll mirror it on the other side, and then we'll just have pipes running down to wherever it needs to be, because yeah, let's turn that off for a minute. Gets loud. So yeah, the trains will then unload sort of one set of oil and one set of water, and I can easily pump those round because it's easy enough with the pumps and the pipes. To come sort of down and across and whatever. Not a problem to feed that through. You can pump the items quite a large distance, and then I'll have yeah, because the way this looks, it's just not quite it's going to have to go sort of vertical like that, isn't it? And then I'll have the outputs. Yeah, if I move these slightly further apart, I can still have the outputs kind of just running up the middle and then having a train coming in there to pick them up. So I'll have one octagon there for the rocket fuel. We need again 160 machines for the rocket control units. .57 machines making speed modules, and we can sort of bus in, obviously on the trains we can get the so yeah, we can get the if there's another 160 machines making rocket control units. Let's just see roughly how. That's 160. So yeah, that takes up a fair chunk of an octagon as well, doesn't it? Um, 57, that's fairly minor. That's 3 rows of 19, isn't it? 57. That's 57. So if we change the recipe on that to be speed 1, wasn't it? Won't use prod modules on that, right? So that's going to look a little bit like that. Obviously I need to put all the but this is just a reminder for myself for later. So the speed modules looks like that. The assembly machines, rocket control units, whatever, look like that. See, these are all going to be kind of separate little machines. The difficult bit, or the tricky bit, is going to be the satellites, because they need they need even more rocket fuel for the satellites. So right, another 250. So I might have to have 3,500 plus another 250. That's 3,750, isn't it? So let's have a look and see roughly how many this thing thinks it's making. Thinking about it. I might have confused it all. No, that's 3,584. So I still need more than that. That just does the rocket fuel for the rocket silo. I'm going to need another little one of those for the satellites as well. Definitely something worth thinking about there. Alrighty, I'll have a little think about that. I'll take a little bit of a break, come back to it a little bit later on, and I mean, the easy part is actually just getting the belts and inserters and whatever in through there, but the I might have to have another separate. Do I want to have another separate little factory? Although I've got that small. Right. Let's save that one there. This rocket fuel factory I've got up here, that produces 268. So I wonder if I can just have that as a standalone thing, producing some rocket fuel for the satellites. I might just nick that little build there, or re-blueprint it or whatever, and just use that for the rocket fuel for the satellites. And if it means we need more, you know, another train bringing crude oil in, and another train bringing water in, or whatever. I mean, it all depends where. I've built these octagons up. There is water there. There's a little bit of water in there. I think I might end up building the rocket fuel in this octagon here, because that is not too far to bring the water in. But both the rocket fuel, and then I might just have another little, you know, the 4 big plants for the silos, and then another little plant just doing on another little 1-1 train or something that just. I keep saying I'll do these little trains that don't run off the LTN system, but then again there's a bit of coal there. I can mine that. I can always fuel that train off coal. Or actually, there's plenty of. I can siphon off a little bit of the solid fuel, can't I? Or even. What am I talking about? I'm talking about making a rocket fuel factory and then wondering how I'm going to power the train to take it from one octagon to another. I can use the bloody rocket fuel that I'm making. I can siphon off a little bit of the rocket fuel to go into the train itself, can't I? So that's how I'll power that train. Hey. Right, I'll build I'll delete that one there. I'll have the rocket fuel over there because it's near the water. I'm just toying with the idea now of having a 4-station drop-off for ore and then 4 smelters in the middle, or 6 smelters or whatever, and then a 4-station pickup at the other end for the plates. And I'm just wondering how many. I can probably squeeze a lot of these smelters into an octagon. It does mean bringing the ore into the base, though. I was rather hoping to just keep the ore trains on the periphery. But I can certainly do something with that idea down here of having, because I've now got this mining productivity 42. Let me just see on something that's being mined quite. Can't zoom in on that until. But it looks like we're in the situation where I've got 10 miners on a belt, and these sort of last couple or something are these last 2 or 3 are backed up. Let's just wander down. No, not to there, because I was going to say wander down to that big iron mine down at the bottom, but I've not got the speed beacons, speed modules or whatever on that one, so let's just have another closer look at this one. I've got to wait for another train to come along, haven't I? Shouldn't be too long. Here comes one. So we'll have a look at this miner here. Every single time there is a purple line, it puts one out onto the belt. So even a single miner is kind of almost half filling a belt or something. And say that one doesn't have any space to output anything. So it doesn't take Doesn't take long to fill a train up with ore, that's the point I'm making. So I'm just thinking about I can certainly have on a large enough patch of ore, I can have it feeding more than one train. And I think on this one I changed, no, did I change it already to be? No, I've still got 10 on there. I think I can get away with changing that blueprint to just be 8, which means I can get more belts coming off a patch and feeding more trains, just like I did with these iron ones. So these irons sort of feed 4 trains. It does mean that if I have more belts and more trains on a single ore patch, that patch is going to get used up a lot quicker. Will it make a difference if I put just 2 trains on more patches or 4 or 5 trains on fewer patches? Time will tell, I suppose, on that one. I'll have a go with sort of setting up some trains. I'll try, yeah. I've got 3 big copper patches here. I'll see if I can set up like a train loop where it comes, the trains come down to one and across to the other and across to the third one, and then all the trains drop off at a large sort of station here, which will feed and I might do it in terms of, I don't know whether to keep a bit of a buffer of ore in chests like I did with the oil, where I've got the train empties, so even when, yeah, I might do sort of a couple of rows of chests so that when the first chest is emptied or requesting ore, there's still plenty available to be smelted. So I've got like 8 rows of smelters, haven't I? So even if I have, I may be overcomplicating it here. I might end up doing something similar to what I did with the trains on here, where I've just got like a couple of stackers and then the train comes in and goes out, and a couple of stackers and the train comes in and goes out, and then just have, yeah, I'll copy that idea, I think, and I might see if I can get one train to feed more rows of smelters with an extra, yeah, I'll copy this idea for the layout. Even if I build it further out down here and get it feeding off these 4, or you know, I've got another one there, yeah, that's something to do later on. But for now I will say see you next time.